Mattie.
I guess we better do something in which they will do. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Well, we got a story about a dog today.
Oh.
I guess we should do bingo. How about that?
Oh, let's do bingo.
Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, go. There was a farmer had a dog and Bingo was his name. Oh, B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Oh, that was pretty good. How about I got a dog and his name is Rags? You know that?
Okay.
Okay, it goes like this. Well, I have a dog and his name is Rags. He eats so much that his stomach sags. His ears go flip-flop, his tail goes wig-wag. When he walks, he goes zigzag. Now, my dog Rags, he likes to play and he rolls around in the mud all day. But my dog Rags will not obey. When I call him, he runs the other way.
Uh-oh.
That funny, silly. All kind of dog songs. Well, we had to do dog songs today. And then we got a story about a teacher, a kindergarten teacher, named Miss Lucy.
Oh.
And we have to say about Miss Lucy, you know. You remember that one? Now, Miss Lucy had a baby. She named him Tiny Tim. She put him in the bathtub to teach him how to swim. He drank up all the water and he ate up all the soap and he tried to swallow the washcloth, but it got stuck in his throat. Then they called for the doctor. They called for a nurse. They called for a lady who had an alligator purse. But the baby pinched the doctor. And the baby kissed the nurse, and the baby took all the chewing gum out of the alligator purse. That baby was bad, wasn't
That was a bad baby.
Shame on you, baby. Well, we're going to have a funny story today about a black and white dog named Buster, who belonged to a kindergarten teacher named Miss Lucy. And this is the way the story goes. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Wiggle your shoulders and then your nose. Now, no more wiggles are left, you see, and you can sit still and listen to me. You know, I used to know them. Those are all called getting still songs, stories. You know, if you don't get still and listen, you just really can't enjoy a story. Story's something you got to sit down and listen to. Yeah. Let's see. Did you remember, here are Grandma's glasses, and here is Grandma's cap, and here's Grandma's hands in her lap, and here's Grandpa's glasses, and here's Grandpa's cap. And this is the way Grandpa puts his hands in his lap. See, that gets you quiet, gets your hands, tricks your hands. And this is another one, this is the way one. Oh, my thumbs are starting to wiggle, thumbs are starting to wiggle, my thumbs are starting to wiggle, round and around and around. See, it's getting all the wiggles out of it. And now my hands are wiggling, now my hands are wiggling, now my hands are wiggling, round and around and around. And my arms are just a wiggling, arms are just a wiggling, arms are just a wiggling, up and down and down. And now I'm wiggling, now I am wiggling, now I am wiggling, and now I'm wiggled down. Then you have to sit down. Well, here we go. Once upon a time, and you know the best stories start with once upon a time.
That's
and they always end with, and they lived happily ever after.
Right.
The end. So this one starts with once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a kindergarten teacher, and her name was Miss Lucy. And Miss Lucy loved dogs, and so she went to the pound where there are many dogs who live, and they do not have homes. And she saw this little dog, and he was black and white. And when he saw her, he looked right at Miss Lucy, and he said, oh, 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 oh. Oh, and Miss Lucy's heart just went thump, 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 thump. And then she went over and she put her fingers through this little cage, and he took his little tongue out and licked her fingers, and he looked at her again. He said,
oh.
And I mean, Miss Lucy couldn't help it. She had to take him home.
She had to.
She said, that is the dog for me. So she took him home, and she named him Buster.
Okay.
I thought that was a real cute name, too. And she and Buster, they just had behind him, because as he grew, he learned to obey Miss Lucy, and she just learned to love Buster, and he was always there. He knew just about what time she came home from kindergarten every day, and he'd sit by the backyard. Miss Lucy had a fence around it. See, if you have a dog, you have to really kind of think about it, see. You have to plan. You just don't know, get a dog. You need to have a place for the dog to stay.
Right.
That he won't, you know, that he won't get out in the street and get hit. And it probably is a good idea to think about not having him tied up all day.
Right.
Because that's a bad thing to happen to a dog. So you really kind of need to think about having your yard with a fence around it, or either you need to have some time that you can take him every day and take him running and play ball with him and everything. Because it's pretty boring to be a dog just not to have anything to do all day.
That's right.
So Miss Lucy, she got her nice fence around her yard. And so when she started to go to school every day, she gave Buster his breakfast. She had her breakfast and her second cup of coffee. Then she would hug Buster, and she'd scratch my ears, and she'd say, "Now you be sweet, and I'll be home this afternoon at 4 o'clock." And so Buster, he began to kind of know that she was going to come around 4 o'clock, and so he would sit at the gate and he would watch for her. And he got smart. He learned that Miss Lucy had a little car, and her little car was red. And so as soon as he saw that, he would run as fast as he could over to the gate, and he'd stand up on his little hind legs, you know, and he would wag his little tail, and he was so glad to see her. That made Miss Lucy feel good, because she was being welcomed home and being loved.
So.
Now, one day something happened, see. She would tell Buster goodbye, and he would stay in the backyard, because he had a doghouse, a nice doghouse. That's if it rained. And if it was really cold, then Miss Lucy let him stay inside in the laundry room. She had a little basket in there with a blanket where he would stay, but mostly he liked to stay outside. So one day, the man who sprayed for bugs around the house, you know, came. And when he came around first he went through the house, and then he came around in the back and sprayed all around there. And then when he left, he was kind of in a hurry, and he just slammed the gate shut, and it didn't click real good, and it was unlocked. And so in just a minute, see, it eased right open. Well, when Buster saw that, he just thought, well, that was a good idea for him to just go right out, take a walk, and see if he could find Miss Lucy somewhere. So that is exactly what he did. And look, here he goes. He's all tickled about it. Look at him. He's running. Yip, 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 yip. Now, he began to go all around everywhere. The first place he went was over to a little school where the children stayed while their mama had gone shopping. It was called Mother's Morning Out. And the children were out in the yard just playing. And they had a teacher named Miss Fanny. Miss Fanny was watching them. And it was just a few little children. And when he saw that little girl, here he came running to her. And his little tongue was out, and he was so glad to see her. And she would have liked to play with him, but Miss Fanny was kind of afraid. She didn't know him very good, you know, and she thought, well, he might possibly bite her. And so Miss Fanny was just fixing to tell him, go on and go on. And about that time, there were some people that lived next door to Miss Fanny's house where she took care of children while their mama was running errands, and they had a cat. And the cat's name was Butter. I think that's a really nice name for a cat, because this cat was yellow. And of course, I mean, this is just a natural thing. See, dogs like to chase cats, and cats run. And so dogs will chase anything that runs. They really love that. They'll chase a rabbit.
They will.
Oh, they love to chase rabbits. They'll chase each other. Some of them have a bad habit of chasing cars, because they like the tires going around. They're going to catch that tire. But Buster was too smart to chase a car. He knew better than that. But he thought, oh boy, that's one of those things called a cat. And that cat went and up the tree he went. And Buster sat down, and he waited, and then he lay down under the tree and took a little nap. And then the cat stayed up there. And about that time, the cat began to get hungry. The cat began to go, and then the lady and the man that lived next door came out looking for their cat. And they got a switch, and they shook it to Buster, and they made him go on so that they could get the cat down out of the tree and bring him home. So that was the end of Buster's fun with the cat. Now, Buster was having a fine time.
I bet.
He was just, but the main thing about it was he was getting further and further away from home, see?
Right.
He's going to get lost, I'm afraid. Because, see, he's getting further away from Miss Lucy's house. And now, he passed where two kids were out in the yard playing. And they just loved Buster. He jumped up, and he was so glad to see him. And they played with him a long time. But then after a while, their grandma called them and said, come on, children. Come on, we got to run some errands. We got to go to Walmart. We have to go by the library and turn some books in and get some news. I was glad they're going to the library.
Oh, that's right.
So they went running off, and there was Buster. He was feeling kind of lonesome now, see, because he was getting to be kind of thirsty. He had a big water bowl in his backyard where he lived with Miss Lucy, but he was trying to get him a drink of water. So all of a sudden, he saw over in a little park that was there in town, a little pond. And lo and behold, there was some water. He could get him a drink of water. And there were some funny little things. We know they were ducks, but he'd never seen them. They were swimming around. And Buster thought they were so cute. He went right up there to the edge of the water and got him a drink of water. And then he went, ow, 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 ow. And the cute little things would just float all around. They were swimming. Quack, 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 quack. Ow, ow, quack, quack. He had a fine time. He played chasing those little ducks until their mama came. And their mama did not think that was very funny. And she came running after Buster, flapping her wings. Quack, quack, quack. And Buster had to hightail it out of there in a hurry. But he enjoyed playing with them. Now, then he saw a big girl. He was chasing the butterfly and ran into this really big girl who looked like, I think she must have been about in 5th or 6th grade. And she was on the way to taking some piano lessons after school. And she thought he was so pretty. She said, oh, I would love to have a dog, but I can't have a dog because my little brother's allergic to dogs and cats and all kind of animals. It makes him sneeze and has asthma. And I just love dogs. And I might someday just volunteer down at the dog, at where they have the dogs that don't have a home, you know. And she said, that would be a good idea. I could go down there and pet them and take them walking, and my brother wouldn't have to go, and that wouldn't bother him. That's a good idea sometimes.
That's a good idea.
Animal shelter, dog shelter, go pet them. Because I imagine dogs and cats living in shelters get lonesome for people to pet them and love them. Now, here is somebody that Buster used to see in his neighborhood a lot. It was the mail carrier. And when Buster saw him, he was so glad to see him because he was a nice dog. He never barked at the mail carrier. Some dogs, you know, will bark really bad at the mail carrier, and the mail carrier has to have some spray that makes the dogs, you know, get out of the way. But this mail carrier, he knew. He said, well, Buster, what are you doing way over here? My goodness gracious. You live 3 or 4 blocks back over the other way. What are you doing over here? And Buster just wagging his tail. Buster followed him for a little bit, but he didn't realize he was getting further and further away from Miss Lucy's home. See, but Buster laid down then, and he was so tired. He got tired of chasing the mailman, and he just got tired of playing with other children, and he just got tired, and he wanted something to eat, and he wanted to see Miss Lucy. And all of a sudden, he began to hear all this noise. He was downtown, where the traffic was, where all the cars were and everything. And lo and behold, would you look at that?
Uh-oh.
He ran right out in the street in front of other because he saw somebody that he knew.
Uh-oh.
And you know who it was? It was Miss Lucy's husband, Mr. Tom. Mr. Tom said, Buster, what in the world are you doing down here, boy? My goodness gracious, he got on his telephone and he called the police station and he told me, he said, send somebody down here to relieve me for a few minutes until I can take my dog home. And they sent him somebody down there in the police car. And Buster had to jump in the police car right up there with Mr. Tom. And he gave him a ride home. And let me show you the first picture there, because there he is again. And when he got home, he was so glad to get in his backyard. And he got in that backyard and he took him a little nap and he got him a drink of water, and he just did wake up, get that drink of water in time for Miss Lucy to come home. And when Miss Lucy came home, he came up wagging his tail, and she said, well, Buster, have you had a nice day today? And I bet Buster did, but Miss Lucy never knew it. I think probably Mr. Tom told her what
He probably told her.
I bet lots of people told on Buster.
I bet.
I had a dog one time, you know how like golden retrievers, and Sally. And one day Sally got out of the backyard. And there's a street close to me that has a lot of traffic. And all the neighbors loved Sally. And everybody was so upset. And they were all, somebody called and said, Sally is out. And everybody was worried about, where is Sally? Oh dear, don't let Sally get hit by a car. And all of a sudden, Sally had been for a walk around the block, and we looked up, and there came Sally. She was just walking back home, and she looked like, well, what's everybody so upset about? I was just taking a little walk. That was a fun story, wasn't it?
That is.
Yeah, I like that story. Well, let's see. Do we know anything else we want to sing? I like to see. We could sing a song. Let's see what we could sing. Let us think. You know what we hadn't done in a long time. Let's do thumpkin.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Well now, where is your thumpkin? Where is your thumpkin? Here I am. Here I am. Well, how are you guys today?
Very well, thank you.
Well, come on out and play, but don't let some little kid suck on you today. Well, where is your pointer? Where is your pointer? Here I am. Here I am. Well, how are you guys today?
Very well, thank you.
Well, come on out and play and get busy and point at everybody that you like today. Now, where is little Peaky? Where is little Peaky? Make it little boys. Here I am. Here I am. Well, how are you today, sir? Oh, we very well, Mattie. Well, come on out and play, but don't get mashed in the library door today. Now, where are all your fingers? Where are all your fingers? Here they are. Here they are. Well, how are you fingers today?
Very well.
Well, come on out and play. Why don't you clap, clap, clap? And snap, snap, snap. And pat, pat, pat. And throw a kiss. And throw a little kiss today.